So welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We have already seen the basics of Jupyter, Spider, Anaconda Navigator. So from this lecture, we are going to start Python. So let's open from the Run menu the Anaconda suite, and let's open the Jupyter Notebook. We know that it would start a web server, and then whatever the default browser it would open that in your it would open the Jupyter Notebook in that browser. So we have our our folder in which we were creating the notebooks. That was Python fundamental. So let's create a new Python notebook before doing anything else. So let's rename this to Introduction to Python. Intro to Python. Okay. So I have told you that we have different types of cells, that is code or markdown. We are going to use the code and markdown, these two type of cells. I would not be using the other ones. So first change the type to markdown of this first cell, and let's give a heading that this is Intro to Python notebook, and the second heading, if you're not going to put any heading, you want to write simple text, the normal text, you can just directly write without any hash. So the notebook author is obviously me. Okay, so shift enter would be used to run this cell. Okay, so we are good to go. So we have already seen the input and output in Python, but for as an introduction, we can let's quickly recap that thing. So to output anything on console, you'll have to use the print statement. Let's write here hello world. So when you press shift enter, the output would be shown here. So my way of using notebook is this. For every task, I'll be convert the cell to markdown, then give the heading. I'll be using h3 here, that what this task is about, and my task is, for example, how to take input from user, and how to take two inputs. Let's say how to take two inputs from user and combine them and output them on console again. Okay, so for input, I have told you that we'll be using input function. I'll be writing some message, enter first statement. Okay, I'll be copy pasting this thing, and I'll be changing this first to second, and I'll save the output value to another variable, which is b. So then I would combine both of them by using the plus operator, and when I use shift enter, you can see that it is asking for first, and let's input anything here. For example, I am from Pakistan, and then the next statement is I am from America. Then we can see that the output is combined on the console. I'm from Pakistan, and the next thing is I am from America. Okay, so this was our task, to combine two inputs and display them on the console screen. Okay. Okay, so next thing is we are going to see what are Python identifiers. Okay, so this one is actually the identifier or the variable in Python. So I have already written this text, and let's run this, and it is actually a markdown to tell you about that what are Python identifiers for later reference. Okay, so Python identifier is a name used to identify a variable, function, class, module, or other object. So what these things are, actually function, class, modules would be explained in the future lectures. Okay, right now we have only seen one thing, that is variable. I assume you have some background knowledge of programming in some other language, so you know the basics of variables. So this is the variable. It is actually a memory location that stores any kind of data inside it. Okay, So this is also called as Python identifier. So to name this identifier, you have certain set of rules in every language. In Python, an identifier starts with any capital letter from A to Z, or any small letter from A to Z, or an underscore. Okay, and you can then add any number of letter digits or underscores. Okay, Python does not allow punctuation characters such as these things within identifier. For example, you cannot use a variable name as vehicle percent type. So this is not a valid identifier name. You can use underscore here. Okay, you can use underscore here, you can use any number of digits here. Okay, some more text here. This is a valid variable name or identifier name, but you cannot use these kind of punctuation characters in your variable name or identifier name. Another thing is that Python is a case sensitive language. So this man is equal to Hamad and this man, these are two different identifiers, different variables. Python would not treat them as same because Python is a case sensitive language. Okay, so when you write these things and let's print man, it's Ali, and let's print this thing, it's Hamad. Okay, so these are some of the rules that how to use Python identifiers in your code. So these are the reserved in Python, so you cannot use them as an identifier for your program. Okay, they have some special meaning in the program, and all the Python keywords contain lowercase letters only. For example, and, z, break, they have some special meanings in Python, so you cannot use them in your code. Okay, so how the image is displayed in this file is I have changed the type to markdown, and this is the syntax of adding image in your markdown template. I have the folder here, images. So to add any image from this folder, for example, I have used this reserve.png, you'll just have to give the path here, images / reserve.png in this parenthesis, and the scare parenthesis have some alternative text if your image would not load. Okay, and then press shift enter and your image will be displayed in the markdown. Okay, so next thing is lines and indentation. So one thing that is vastly different from other programming languages is that most of the languages use semicolon at the end of each statement to denote the end of the statement, and they also use the curly braces and parentheses to explain that this is the one single code block. For example, this is one block of if statement. If you are not familiar with the if statements, I'll be showing you in those in the next lecture. Okay, so in Python there is no concept of parentheses to indicate blocks of code or class. Okay, so you'll just have to use spaces and indentation to explain your code to Python kernel. Okay, so the next thing is that the blocks of codes are denoted by line indentation, which is rigidly enforced. Okay, so you'll get the syntax error if your code is not properly indented, and the number of spaces are actually variable. You can use any number of spaces, but they must have some logical sequence. So if you know something about if else statement, so if true semicolon and then right here print I am true, and else print I am false. So if you run this program, you'll get I am true because there is no syntax error, there is proper indentation. You can see that this print statement is inside this if, and this print is inside this else. Okay, so if you disturb its indentation, for example, I copy paste the same code in the next cell and let's disturb its indentation. Okay, now the Python kernel would get confused and it would throw an error, expected an indented block. Okay, so you would get an error in this regard. we can say that this is the example of improper indentation. We can leave it as it is, so that when you would be looking at this notebook, you can quickly remember that what this was about. The next thing is multi-line statements. Let me write here multi statements. Okay, let's change it to markdown, then press shift enter. So if you want to write some statement in more than one line, so if you would be doing like this, for example, you are going to add 3 numbers, you'll get an error of unexpected indentation. So you'll have to use line continuation character, so that Python kernel knows that the next line is part of the previous line and the line has not still ended. Okay, so we'll be using the continuation character, and which is /. Okay, so you write here 2, then again / and +3. Okay, so let's shift enter this, so you do not get an error. So let's display the value of a. It is 6. 1 + 2 + 3 is 6. So this / is line continuation characters, so you can use / for multi-line statements. If you are looking to write multiple statements on a single line, then we'll be using the semicolon to end a single statement. For example, you can use a = 2 and then semicolon b is equal to 7 or 8 and d equals to, or let's do this, a = a + b and then print a. So we can see that we'll be getting the output after adding these two, and all of the 4 statements are on single line. So let's press shift enter and you get the desired results. Okay, so I told you in the previous cell that the improper indentation would leads you to an error, and there is no concept of semicolons. But if you want to use multiple statements on a single line, then the semicolons would be required. So let's add a cell above this to and change it to markdown and write here multiple statements on single line, then use this thing and press enter. Okay, so this is all about the introduction. Now we can see that the last checkpoint is 21 minutes ago. We can save this thing and let's go back to our Python folder and let's see the status of git bash here. Okay, so the status is git status. Okay, so we have modified files which we need to synchronize with GitHub. So for that we'll use git commit -m and intro to Python completed, enter, git push -u region master, enter. Let's see on the GitHub if the changes are reflected. We have our notebook on the GitHub. Okay, so our notebook has been uploaded to GitHub also, and then we have our images folder also on the GitHub. Okay, so this is all about introduction to Python. See you in the next lecture. Thank you very much.